Well, very good morning. Welcome to Kinsale. We're on the middle of the stopover, the first stopover off the Solitaire Urbo Le Figaro, the 50th edition. Very, very high level of field. We're joined by Johan Richomme, the winner of the first leg. Morning, Johan.
Good morning.
Alan Roberts from Seacat Services, or English sailor. Did a pretty solid first leg, Alan.
Yep.
And Joanne Malloy, our local almost Irish sailor from the west of Ireland. Welcome, Joanne. So we'll start off by asking Johan, tell us about that first leg win. Really, what was the secret?
Well, I think we were talking about it before. The secret was keeping it simple, just going by the major weather informations we've had, and not tiny little details that were from grips that were about 2 or 3 days old, and just going, as much as we could towards the fastnet and keeping as much of it in a straight line. So that's already hard to do.
So for our viewers who don't know, just explain what information you have on board in terms of the weather information. What was it that gave you that key information that the breeze was staying in the northeast?
Well, I think the key information came from the analysis before the start of the race. We were working with Marcel Ventriel, and that was his analysis was that in such conditions we had to go north. So I've always had that in my head all the time, and basically when we leave the dock we get the last weather information we can, and that's it for what we can put into the computer. That's the last information we get, and then the organization sends us via VHF, so via voice, a weather update by zones, which are really big. So we had maybe 6 different zones going up to Kinsale, and but they're mostly security information about the weather. So we try to update our strategy with that, but it's still very basic. So you have to analyze the weather you have at the same time, and how it changes, and where you are to the low and the high pressures and stuff like that. So that makes it very interesting. And the only thing we can have is a weather chart through a small device that gets it through radio waves, basically, which is pretty hard to get a good quality out of.
You got something, didn't you?
I got one chart. Yeah.
And that
one held. It did. It confirmed the pre-race analysis that there was a better angle going towards the Scilly Islands and the east of the Irish Sea. So I stuck with that, and then then there's a bit of luck. I have to say, I hate saying that usually, but I saw that the guys in the west had really tough conditions, and that is not something you can see in the charts, not something we get out of the security report. It was like that. It was bad luck, I guess.
You make your luck, don't you?
Yeah, but you make your luck.
But you came into this race with full of confidence and no pressure, because you came in as a late substitution, if you like.
Yeah.
Just explain that a little bit.
I think Charles Cololi got scared a little bit at the level, so he decided to go for an easier boat, a new team trimaran. So
something a little bit smaller.
Charles had to go with a Chitana, and the team picked me to replace him, which was a great honor, obviously. And so I had 2 months to prepare.
When you read that offer, did you think about it, or did you just say yes straight away?
Yeah, I think for about 30 seconds. I hung up the phone. I talked to my wife, and she said, "Oh, you got to do it." I was like, "If you say it, you got to do it."
That's all you need.
I called back. I was like, "Okay, let's go do it."
Perfect.
Yeah. No, it was an easy decision because the boat was already set up. The budget was there, and I had already trained on the boat the whole winter, so I wasn't out of the game totally. And the thing is, I was going to be relaxed because I've already won it. I came in last minute, and I was just here for the fun of it, basically, and to be on that new boat as well, because I've worked on it for 3 years. So I thought it was.
So did that help, having done some of the development work?
I don't think it did much. Of course not. No, not really. Not as much as the training we did.
What do you think?
No, seriously, it didn't. I mean,
you had less training.
On solo, yeah, single-handed on the boat, yes. But otherwise, no. We did the entire winter with Pierre Quiroga on Massif.
Yeah.
So I got a good idea of what it was like. But beforehand, we got only 4 days of sailing to test the boat, so it's a very much untested boat globally. So I didn't get much info out of it.
You're a bit of a perfectionist in terms of boat prep, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess I definitely like that.
So did you change much once you got hold of the boat, or did you just pretty much go?
Yeah, I changed the rig setup completely because what we had worked on this winter wasn't what I found on the boat.
So what did you do?
And I moved the mast forward as much as I could. I'm giving it everything out. But if the French guys are not
Exactly,
listening,
they don't understand.
no, but they know because at the pool we give all the information to the training center. So yeah, but that was pretty much it. And then I bought a new sail set, and just
You work with who for sales?
for Incidence, but it's just a historical reason.
Yeah,
I've worked for since 2011 with them, so it's just always easy. But I used North for the Metro Corp, which was a really good set as well. So I don't think the differences in the sail sets are getting less and less already, really fast. Because there's a lot of development work this winter. I mean, we're on V7 of the Geneco already, and so it's already going down into the phone.
So on your first leg, you were pretty deep at one point.
Yeah.
You made a very nice recovery. You must feel good at this point.
Yeah, no, it's never great to be right at the back of the fleet, but pretty happy. I've been lucky, I guess, as well, as Joanne says, maybe. But had a bit between my teeth, managed to power back through the fleet and get back in. And as we were discussing earlier, the game's kind of changed a bit. The AIS's range is a bit smaller, so
That's due to the antenna, is it?
Yeah, I think so. It's slightly different antenna, a bit smaller, which means we capture less boats, so we can't really see very much of what's happening to the other boats in the water or where they
Is
are.
that good or bad in terms of the game, if you like, the intensity of what you can see? I think you probably got different ideas, have you?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
So I think it actually brings it back a bit more old school and probably more to the roots of fundamentally what sailing is. So understanding the weather and sailing the boats, the optimal route that you believe it to be with the weather information you have, as opposed to watching the other boats and sticking with them and just trying to sail a little bit faster, but blindly and not really looking at the weather.
Anything. Yeah.
Because
I think it's a better game without too much info.
I think most people would agree with that.
And I think
It
there's
makes it
people
more
in
interesting. It's less of a following game. You
get a little bit more
people
time off,
say,
if you like. You're
typically,
not-
there's like one person front makes the decisions, and everybody else sees how they go and either follows or doesn't.
I think
Now,
there's been people that you could almost have gone out there without doing any weather information,
followed them.
stick with the fleet and try and
Oh yeah, you can. A lot of guys get a good ranking out with the Solitaire just doing that. Stick with one guy that knows and just try to be as fast as him and don't think about anything else. Yeah.
So you can add next time.
They should be.
Tell us a little bit about the mindset when you're deep and you're tired and you're. How do you set yourself up for something to come back?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy, the psychological side for sure, but the most important thing to remember is that it is never over. I mean, literally until we cross the finish line. Of course it won't, even when you're 100 metres away, it can still all change, especially arriving into these little coastlines like this, tucked away in up river estuaries. It's all just playful right to the end, and many a race has been won or lost right at the end, I think, and fleets have turned inside out, and so
The key thing, of course, with La Solitaire, it's on aggregated time, so it's all about how little time you are behind the leader, and you're in quite reasonable shape that way, aren't you?
yeah, I think I'm probably back end of the pack. That's what we would classically call in touch, but then again, classically isn't what we're doing this year. It's definitely very different, and I think we can still see big time differences over the next couple of legs. We've gone from more of an ocean leg. We're going to have it's going to get a bit more closed down, and then the final leg's going to be very tidally driven. So we could see 6-hour differences on the next legs where boats get stuck with no wind on a tidal gate, and so I think it's a very different Solitaire in terms of from what we've seen before. And
Hey, Joan, what's it like being at home in Ireland, if you like, on this leg?
yeah, it's lovely to sail into Ireland. It was really, really lovely. Kind of as I first saw land, I was thinking, God, that's cool, that's Ireland, where we're finishing. For me, it's been very busy as a stopover because we haven't had much time. The leg was quite a long leg, and we're leaving again already tomorrow. So
I think Alan would probably have
there's a lot of stuff going on.
Alan would probably have a bit of advice for you on home legs. I think you did a leg into cows at one point, didn't you, a few years back, and it kind of really affected your race thereafter because you got so stressed with looking after VIPs and friends and family.
Yeah, you can get a bit carried away in the moment, but it depends on what your objectives are from the stopover as well. You know,
you have to leverage it.
If the race is, you know, some of us, you know, don't have the opportunity to drop into a campaign fully funded and ready to go. Here's the keys, go and take on the solitaire.
Yeah.
You know, if your objectives are to find sponsors and please the sponsors, then that's what you've got to do.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like for us, you know, non-French teams, the sponsor hunt is hard for everybody, but trying to convince a whole country that this is a cool sport, you know, we're really starting. So for us, having a stopover in Ireland is like one opportunity to be like, come and have a look, see how cool it is, you know, see what an interesting event it is, look at all these guys, you know, look at all the effort, look at all the teams, look at all the work behind it. You know, this is what we're talking about.
So what's on your agenda then, from that point of view?
So I've just had a lot of interviews, and luckily all of my sponsors are here in Force, and they're really understanding, and they're really kind of just letting me do my own thing. But I just have had a lot of interviews, made a big party with their sponsors last night, which everybody was at, and that was a really massive success. So I think that was the biggest ticket item for them. So now it's just about capitalising on all the media attention from the stopover in Ireland, making sure that all the media we get, we kind of continue the momentum going.
What you're really trying to do is find sponsors who will come on the journey with you, on the adventure all the way through to the Vendée Globe, isn't that right?
Exactly, yeah. And to have people that, you know, people can buy into Irish participation in the sport, not just me going off and doing my own thing in France. It's, you know, that the sport becomes part of what Irish people do, not just me. It's part of Irish sailing as people go off and do this.
And where do you feel that you are in that particular process, if you like, in terms of your fan base within Irish sailing, for example? They understand
much at the start. They're very much at the beginning still, but I think more and more people are getting to understand, and having a stop in Kinsale is a massive boost for that, because the Irish sailing media are very good at covering stuff, particularly if it's happening in Ireland. And I think more and more, as Tom Dolan, the other Irish skipper in the race, is Tom and I, both of us are doing solitaire for the second year, and both of us are working hard on kind of getting the word out there. So I think as time goes by, we're definitely getting more and more coverage in Ireland, which is very important.
And that first leg was pretty tough for you. You were very much in the pack early on, and then just things started to go a little bit wrong.
Yeah, it's funny, I was just saying to these guys with the AIS that we have, I didn't see anybody, so I had no idea where I was or anybody was, and I was out of the HF range, so I had no ranking, so I had no idea where I was from Monday to Thursday. And it was only when I came in that people said, God, you made some good decisions. I was like, did I? I had no idea. You know, I thought I could have arrived in Kinsale and everybody would have been there for 2 days before me. I just had
just a little bit of explanation though. What you get on board is just the ranking and the positions.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no tracking on board.
They read it out over the VHF. They read out the rankings.
You have to plot.
Well, they just say you can't even plot them. They just say
it's just the distance
distance
to the finish.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So you know, on a circle, basically, you don't know where to position people.
Yeah. So they could say, you know, like Johan is first. He's 200 miles from Kinsale, but I don't know if he's 200 miles there or there. And then it says Alan is second, 1 mile behind Johan. And again, you don't know
with me or not.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
So I didn't have any information. So yeah, it was mentally very tough for me, but. I think you just have to, the kind of level I'm at, it's only my second solitaire, I was kind of prepared for that eventuality for being left by myself. So I was like, look, I just got to stay calm and stick to my references on the boat and just keep trucking as much as I can. And so that's what I did. And I actually really enjoyed the leg at the end, you know, once I kind of got over thinking, right, I'm by myself, and I'd accepted, right, I'm just by myself, that's fine. And actually since I've come in,
rerun the race,
it's got better and better, because I've seen that actually I did make some good decisions, and I was with the pack for a lot of it, and I'm really happy that I was.
Yeah,
because I literally had no idea where I was. I was just making decisions based, like you said, on the big broad brushstrokes of weather. You know, the weather forecast would say the wind is northwest, it's going north later, and I'd be like, okay, I'll go right.
Yeah, that's basically what you do. It's turning right, I'll go right. I don't even know if I'm going to be early or late for getting there, if it's going to happen or not.
Yeah, exactly.
And a little bit of explanation about the abandon, because that's you get an arbitrary plus 2 hours or something.
Yeah, so that was very tricky for me. I kind of knew I actually had missed the weather bulletin. I'd missed all the weather bulletins, sorry. But just as we approached the Fastnet Rock, I passed Tom Dolan actually, and he relayed me the last weather bulletin from the race committee, and the weather basically was about to shut down when I went around the Fastnet Rock. It was still 50 miles to go to Kinsale. I was already a bit behind everybody else, and when I arrived at the Fastnet, I still had some weather, and I thought this is brilliant to put my spinnaker up, and about 100 metres from the Fastnet it just died, and I could see the reflection of the stars in the water around me. It was completely glassy. And I was kind of between an island and a forbidden zone, a traffic separation scheme, and just trying to keep away from both of them. So just kind of turning enough to float towards the traffic separation, and turning enough to float back to the island. And I think it was going to take me about 85 hours to get to Kinsale or something. So I would have missed the start of the second leg. So I thought about it for a while. I got a bit hysterical, rang the race director. He said, calm down, give it an hour, have a think. And when I just calmed down and looked at it logically, I thought, yeah, it's actually what's best for me now is to stop this leg. Will improve my position, because I'm already more than 2 hours behind the next boat, so I'll improve my time and I will get a chance to rest.
Talk to me about the rest then, Alan, because it's such an essential component of this race. What's the kind of programme when you're in the first stopover?
Sleep as much as possible, eat as much as possible. I think even if you think you don't need it, because there's still 3 legs to go.
Is it hard to get to sleep after? Obviously you have that first chunk, that first sleep, but after that,
I do find it difficult to have a block sleep. I definitely wake up and because you've been for 5 days, you've been quite active mentally. You always think about the trim, the weather, the other boats, the speed, and you're bouncing around all these things. Having 10, 15 minutes, maybe 30 minute sleeps if all's good and well out there, but you're never switching off. So coming ashore, I can sleep for 4 or 5 hours, but then I kind of wake up and I'm quite active. And
so what do you do?
Try to force to sleep and relax and turn my mind off. But I don't know. I think everyone's different. And
what do you do, Ewan?
I came in at the right time because I finished at 8 o'clock or something, and at 7 o'clock, and so by 11 o'clock I was in bed. I was showered, eaten, and I was in bed, so I had a full night, which was way easier than obviously finishing in the morning and stuff like that. And then I went back to a pretty normal cycle. I wasn't too tired. I sleep a lot at sea, so I don't helm, first of all. So I'm always, as little as I can, that's for sure. So maybe I helm for, I don't know, 2-3 hours during this leg, nothing much more. And I kind of go on and off to sleep all the time, basically. So I could be, actually before the Fastnet, quite a few of us said that we couldn't even sleep anymore. We had slept way too much already, and we were what feels like at sea fully recovered, But the last 40 miles from the Fastnet to the finish.
But in terms of ergonomics and the physicality of the boat is very different to a Figaro 2.
Yeah, but it's not. The Figaro 2 wasn't really a racing boat. No. It was getting closer to a cruising boat as the years went on. So if you compare it to another real racing boat, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just I throw down a big cushion and I sleep on it anywhere I can on the spinnakers, and it's fine. It works for me. I don't mind it.
There's plenty of space.
When it's all stacked, when it's all nicely stacked and everything, I think there's enough space. I think for the AG2R with 2 people on board and 3 weeks of food, it might be a little different. I'm not saying, but for this kind of racing, it's fine. But I think it's important to be in good shape all the time, which is hard because basically the first 48 hours we didn't get any sleep. The weather was changing all the time. It was completely mad. And when we got to Usher, and the wind picked up a little bit, we were upwind in about 20 knots and stuff. I started thinking, man, this is going to be a long one. We're going to be so tired getting up there. But then the conditions for the Eastern group weren't too bad, and we did get a lot of rest.
You were saying that you saw some of the video of the guys out in the west, and they had such different weather.
Yeah, there are lots of thunderstorms, clouds. They even had a tornado for one of the boats. Gilles Morvan got knocked over by a tornado, and a few others saw him. So
I saw.
he wasn't lying.
I thought I
That was his
Later,
excuse.
yeah.
which we weren't sure until somebody else said, yes, I did see it.
I thought I saw
It was probably a tuba.
forming out of the bottom
yeah.
of the cloud as well,
Yeah.
and I was like, Joan,
pretty bad.
don't be ridiculous. You need to sleep.
They had big clouds where the wind completely died for 2 or 3 hours after that, and so it was really tough on them because we were nowhere near that. We had a few clouds that slowed us down a little bit, but obviously we had a way easier leg than some of them.
Talk to us about the second leg. Then how's the weather looking? What's the strategic option?
But it's very easy. It's upwind to the Isle of Man and downwind to Roscoff.
I'll do.
That's just the basic part of it, because obviously we're getting into an area we don't know really well, which is even more fun than what we've had here. And again, it's a very open game because the first leg was fully open from France to Ireland, which was great. We weren't used to that before, so it's a big change. And it's open again because basically we have 2 marks. It's around the Isle of Man, go to Roscoff. And the rest is fully open. We've got separation schemes in the middle, islands,
There's
rocks.
still 60 miles
and-
between Wales and Ireland, so there's a big gap of water to play in.
Yeah, a lot to play with. It's going to be fun, that's for sure. And then I don't really know what's going to happen, weather-wise. The details are a bit sketchy still. And
You've had a look at one up now.
Only briefly, but looks like it's going to be a tricky first couple of days with unstable conditions and not much gradient winds. No ice bars over the whole British and Irish zone. And a little bit of breeze to send us downwind. Maybe tricky at the end, depending on the timing. So tricky start, tricky end, easy middle, maybe quite similar to leg one.
I'll do. Thank you all very much. Have a good second round. Good remainder for La Solitaire. Thank you all.
thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.